Welcome to Jon Ferrian Live. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We've got a little bit of a different format than what we normally have here tonight. I've got four of us on tonight, three amazing guests, and we're going to be talking to the team from All American Heroes Foundation. This is quite a crew, and I'm super excited for them to be here tonight. So we've got Aaron McCarthy. Give him a wave, Aaron. How's it going?
What's going on?
Awesome, awesome.
How you doing?
Great. I've got Tom LeClaire here up in the spot right above me here. Say hi, Tom.
Hey, what's going on?
Awesome, awesome. And I've got Josh Spillers here with us from Montana. Welcome, Josh. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, John?
Good, good. So again, a little bit of an unorthodox or unusual start to the show here with four of us on. Normally I got my music going and I'm jamming on and stuff too. And before we get too far into this, we got some people live coming in. And thank you all for your patience last night. Normally we would have done the show on Sunday night, last night. But as some of you guys have seen on Facebook who follow me personally as well as the show, we had an epic road trip to make through yesterday from Sealy Lake, Montana, all the way back to the Seattle area, and we had lots of ice and snow and junk to deal with. Snoqualmie Pass here in the Washington State was just a hot mess up here, and man, I'm glad to be home, but it threw us off for schedule, and so thank you for everybody for your patience in coming in now. So please drop it in the comments and let us know where you're watching from, and also let us know if you can see us and hear us. Just let us know where you're watching from, and please share the show out. So if you guys share the show out tonight, I'm going to pop this image up here quick. We've got Woody's Racing hoodie and a Idaho and Potatoes package here. Woody's Racing is an Arctic Cat race team out of Minnesota, and they are right in the middle of their season. They've had some amazing performances already from one of their racers, Theo, from Canada, is down here racing, and he's actually placed first in one of his races. The Woody's family, Caden and Taven, are there. Taven got hurt this season. We're going to try to have her on in a few weeks and do a little interview with her as well. But Woody's family is here sponsoring the show tonight. Give them some love, share out the show, and get in to win on an awesome sweatshirt. Appreciate you guys doing that. And so let's get into doing some introductions here. Aaron, I'm going to start with you, Mr. You look familiar, Aaron. Like, weren't you the guy that was on with Dan Adams? Like, was that like 4 months ago? How many months ago was that, Aaron? Was that like a year ago, 6 months ago? When were you on?
Well, episode 130, so let's go back
32 episodes ago. Wow.
32 episodes, so yeah.
That's
awesome.
I was
quite starstruck. I had my 15 minutes of fame, so now I got my next 15, so I get 30.
Yeah, I like to call it Facebook famous. You know, once you've been on Jon Ferrian Live, you immediately become this like superstar and autographs and like appearances and the whole works, right, Aaron?
You say that. It's funny you say that because I literally had 165 friends when prior to coming on your show, and after your show, I ended up with like 600. So, hi, all you new friends.
That's awesome.
Now I have like 2,000. So, hey. Keep them coming.
Yeah. And Aaron, let's just remind everybody, where are you based out of? Where are you at here?
I'm in Roy, Washington, so just south of Tacoma. So, yeah.
So that's about an hour and 40 minutes away from me now, as I've discovered over the summer. Is right after we did your episode, you and I became fast friends, and we've stayed in touch. And I actually have a lot of personal vested interest in this program tonight because you and I have spent quite a few days, you know, chit-chatting and talking and some breakfasts and some lunches and trying to brainstorm on how do we make this whole thing, you know, a reality. And I haven't worked nearly as hard as these other guys, but I do have a vested interest in seeing how this is going to continue to go. So
I've got my Jon Ferrian Live notebook.
Do you?
So,
is it all the things? Is it all the things to do or all the things not to do?
Both.
Both.
Majority of not to do is still there.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Still not checked.
Awesome.
So, we're learning.
Cool.
We are learning. Definitely.
Let's shift over to Tom now. So Tom LeClaire, you're in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, I'm Stanchfield, Minnesota, about 50 miles north of Minneapolis.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what I like to call that is the real Minnesota. It's like when people ask me if I'm from Washington and they say, "Oh, I've been to Washington." I says, "Where?" Seattle. I'm like, that's not real Washington. It's like saying Minneapolis is Minnesota. Until you get out of the city limits and go to see the beautiful backcountry of Minnesota or Washington, you haven't seen those states, you know, firsthand. But yeah, give everybody a little bit about your background. You know, how did you get to know Aaron? What's your background? Kind of where do you live? What's your day job? That kind of thing.
Well, my day job is I'm a tool maker. I build plastic injection molds. I've been doing that for about 24 years. Before that, I was a welder. I was in the Navy back in the day. I grew up, Aaron and I were neighbors growing up. I've known the kid since he was, what, 3, 4?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've probably got
Uh,
some pretty good stories you could tell about Aaron to embarrass
Don't
him.
uh,
Oh,
don't tell that story.
just
there's a
remember it's a
few.
family. Just remember it's a family-friendly show. Other than that,
Family
it's
show.
open. Oh yeah.
There's a few good stories of Aaron.
I bet. I bet.
So yeah, we used to just kind of tear up the country and countryside when we were on our bikes, making jumps out of a piece of plywood and a cinder block and piece of firewood or whatever. And then we got a little older and we snowmobiled around the neighborhood and through the fields and stuff. It wasn't really a neighborhood, I guess. We lived out in the country, so we did
Awesome.
that for quite a few years. And so yeah, it was just, I don't know, we've known each other our whole life. So
Very good,
basically
very
our
good.
brothers.
Yeah, and it's both military veterans. It sounds like at this point, as well as Josh, who we're going to get to in
Yeah.
just a minute here. But you have that going for you, and
Yep.
just appreciate you jumping on and remind us what is your not remind us, but share with us what your role is with the All American Heroes Foundation. What's your title and job responsibilities with the foundation? So
Well, I'm a co-founder,
okay,
um, co-founder, vice president on the board. I'm also a first responder. I've been a firefighter for almost 5 years.
very cool.
The lieutenant of our volunteer fire department here, Dalville Fire Department. So my role would be to bring in first responders,
Okay.
but vets too, because I have a veteran background.
Yeah.
But to try to get more first responders involved and just that whole thing. So
No, that's
try
awesome.
try to do more. Well, we'd like to do more like first aid and CPR and get more into that type of classes into for All American Heroes also, not just snowmobiling, but because what goes with snowmobiling, you have to be safe. Comes in the Abbey trainings, and so that's all stuff for us to get into. And
yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight.
Right. So that's really what I want to bring to All American Heroes is kind of all of the education that we can offer and bring to everybody that wants to learn. So
that's very cool.
We've seen a lot of people are very interested in learning as much as they can. So it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we'll come back to you with lots of good questions and have you share some more information. But Josh, Mr. Spillers, you're where? You're in Montana, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm in the Bozeman area of Montana.
My personal favorite area of Montana. I've been across that state. When you live in Washington and you're from Minnesota, you get to see Montana a lot. By the way, that's a really long state. And when you drive, it's what, I-90 from coast to coast of the Montana. What is that, like an 8 or 10 hour drive just across the one state?
Oh, I honestly couldn't even tell you. I'm still fairly new to living here in Montana.
I could tell you, it's a hell of a long way, right?
It's a long ways.
It's a long ways. It's like half of our drive. The whole thing is just Montana. And I was just in Seeley Lake here a few days ago, enjoying some of the Montana powder up in the Seeley Lake area. Man, they got hammered up there this week when we were up there. 4 or 5 feet of fresh snow in the mountains at higher elevations. My new Skidoo Turbo was basically a submarine this week, is what I discovered.
Yeah.
So. You pin it, it comes to the top, but just tooling around nice and easy, man. You were under the snow as much as you're above it.
Yep.
It was just crazy. So, Josh, your role and position within the organization, American Heroes Foundation, tell us a little bit about it and what your role is and what you bring to the table.
Sure. So I am also one of the board members, and I'm dealing with the social media content type stuff and blog writing, which is just kind of a role. It's something I've always been interested in. So it's just kind of a role I was willing to take on. I'm fairly new to doing stuff like that, so it's kind of a learning experience for me. Beyond that, I have my background as far as military expertise goes was logistics and doing that. So I'm hoping that as we begin to grow and move on into doing some of the bigger things that we have planned that I'll be utilizing, falling back on that expertise and training to help really bring everything together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm looking at the, my left side of the screen and the right side of the screen. I'm on the right. Aaron and Josh are on the left. And I'm thinking about on the left side of the screen over here between Josh and Aaron, little birdie told me, and rumor has it, I've been following both of you on social media a little bit, and Josh, I've heard a few of your video blogs and stuff like that, and I know both of you guys kind of started off on the same mindset and path, but without even knowing each other, right? Like it was kind of like you had mutual passion. So I'm going to tee it up to Aaron first, and then Aaron, you can kind of reference it, and we'll tee it back down to Josh. But
Okay.
how did you start this, Aaron, and kind of what was your goals and your thought process of starting what ultimately became All American Heroes Foundation? But in the beginning, it didn't even have a name, right? It was just an inspiration.
Right.
But
It didn't. It didn't.
we'll touch on it just high level. Then we'll go down to Josh, and then we'll come back up and have you finish it, Aaron. So.
Yeah, sure. So it was just a pipe dream. Actually, it was just something that sitting on a beach in the beach in Alpine with Dan Adams and Eric Budge. And Dan said, well, what do you think about starting a nonprofit? And I went, sure. And he said, well, get the wheels rolling. And I was like, okay. So July 15th, I was driving home I wasn't driving because I couldn't drive at that point. So I was still recovering from my seizure, but we're riding home and I'm telling my wife, I'm like, oh my God, I just committed to starting another nonprofit. And she goes, you can't say no now. So I just started putting my feelers out, and I can't remember for the life of me how I connected with Josh, but he messaged me, I believe, on Facebook and said, hey, my name is Josh Spillers, and I've been wanting to do this, and I just haven't had the backing. And he goes, I would really, love to talk. And I was like, bring it on. Let's see what you got. So
Yeah. Well, who knows that
Josh-
story really well, Aaron? Josh does.
you.
No, Josh does, right? So Josh,
Go ahead, Josh.
let's hear your side of the story on what it was that, like, how did you stumble across Aaron and what he was doing, or how did you kind of kick off what you were trying to do first, or what was your inspiration for what your initial goals were with what your problem, the problem you were trying to solve?
Yeah, so for me, I moved to Montana in 2019 with my wife. It was just a good financial and career move for both of us. And that winter, our really good friends that kind of talked us into moving out here, Matt and Jamie. My friend Matt had a few years snowmobiling, and he snowmobiles with his dad and stuff, and they invited us to go. Long story short, fell in love with the sport during the winter of 2019 to 2020. And sometime around January or February of last year, I was helping a friend out at his house, and this idea just kind of popped into my head. And he's also a veteran, and he's hopefully going to be helping us out with the West Yellowstone chapter. He's a really good guy. His name's Joe. And we were talking, and I kind of threw this idea out there, and he's like, hey, that's kind of a cool idea. And I kind of pursued it for a little bit, and it kind of fell off the table because I didn't know where to get started. And I reached out to a few people and asked for, how to do like a nonprofit business plan. Like I didn't know anything about what to do. So fast forward to the fall of this year, and by then I had purchased my first snowmobile. My friend Matt was ready to roll for the winter, and we were all getting ready and buying gear and stuff. And I'd started joining Facebook groups and started getting
We just had Josh freeze up. We'll give him a second, see if he comes back.
industry. And one day, one of the Facebook groups, I saw Aaron's post, and that was I just went, wow, this guy's. I clicked on the All American Heroes thing and was like, this is exactly what I've been talking about. And so I messaged him and said, hey, man, I'd love to talk to you about this. And so we talked, kind of put our heads together, and found out that he just had a lot more legwork done than I did, and had a few more connections and networking done than I did. And it just made more sense to, rather than try and compete, to just get together and just make this happen.
Yeah, so I'm going to make a little pun and funny here. Is Aaron had some legwork going. I'm going to call it four-legged legwork, right, Aaron? Tell us about your four-legged legwork that you had already kicked off. So Aaron had some background already in launching a nonprofit tied to veterans, and so tell us just a blip about that, Aaron. And we won't go into detail, but just what do you got going on with that?
In 2011, I was having some issues with my brain and some motor skill issues, and I wasn't getting the care I needed through through the system, and I read an article about alternative therapies, and it happened to be service dogs, and I was like, I can do that. So I started a nonprofit in 2011 with my co-founder of that organization. Her name is Debbie Thayer. She's like my big sister, and she is kicking butt on the organization. It's still up and running, and so I've got a little bit of background in nonprofits. So our service organization is called All American Assistance Dogs. We help veterans with mobility, TBI, or PTSD, TBI, and mobility. Gosh, so it's a great organization, and we've helped a lot of veterans. So
Yeah, cool.
yeah.
Well, then the next question I want to kind of run by all of you guys, and I'm actually, Tom, I'm going to run it by you first. So I'll get prepared here. Is my question is, veterans and first responders, and I'll put it in my own words, and I'd like for you guys to, I'll start with you, Tom, is, confirm, like, I'm not a veteran, I'm not a first responder, right? But, one thing I am is a people person, and I interact with a ton of people, including my friends like Aaron, and you guys will soon be my friends as well. You'll find it once you're on the show, you immediately get to be my friends forever, because everybody's my friend, they just don't know it yet. That's the problem, right?
At an arm's length.
At an arm, no. Well, Aaron, right? That's just Aaron. You guys can be like close. You can come in tight, but Aaron, I try to keep at an arm's length. Yep. So,
yeah. Oh yeah.
But think about it this way: is like, what is it that, and it's probably obvious to many, but I would say some of the people who are going to watch this tonight are going to be like, well, what's all the big hubbub about, giving veterans this opportunity, or about, first responders, and, the transition from, their military / first responder life, kind of integrating them back into civilization, if you will, or, kind of the quote unquote, the other world, or the real world, or however you want to word it. I think there's a lot of people who look at this maybe as, we're honoring veterans, which is amazing. But then I think there's a really kind of a double layer there, that is, what is it that the first responders and the veterans are going through that makes this kind of a program so relevant, important, and meaningful, and from what I understand, very much can just change someone's life. I've had some time to spend with Aaron, and he shared a lot of personal stories with me, and I can tell you that, this kind of stuff literally does change people's lives. And I know it did for Aaron personally, just through being his friend and hearing it. But Tom, I'd love to kind of get your perspective, especially in that first responder, military also, but let's focus on the first responder side of it, and then we'll turn it over to Josh and Aaron to kind of fill in some gaps if there's any that we need to hit. So,
well, for me, and I can say for most first responders, it's just the brotherhood, it's the family, it's people that you can rely on, and it's just a brotherhood. And military was a lot the same. Being a veteran, it's just the family, the veteran, or the brotherhood, and you just get, you're with like-minded people.
Okay.
And you just click, and you get support from like-minded people. So, I mean, it falls back on just family.
Yeah. No,
basically.
I hear you. Well, and one piece too, and again, I've got friends here locally who, first responders. I've actually gotten to know Aaron. I see you're wearing it, the altitude sickness hat, right? Through those guys, I've gotten to know them as well as, and they're first responders, paramedics, and
Rick.
And here's my view from the outside looking in, and again, you guys can confirm or correct me if you want to. Is, when I go to work every day, and I'm working at Microsoft, and I'm looking in Xbox, like, I'm dealing with a lot of fun, cool stuff. Let's be honest, right? And I think of, like, if I was a first responder, I'm dealing with things and people and experiences where the people you're helping are probably at some of the most traumatic, tragic points in their life. And that could be potentially in the military also, but I think specifically from the first responder. And by dealing with this day in and day out, you just become almost, and again, this is just my observation, so please correct me, but you almost just become numb and have to almost compartmentalize what you deal with every day at work, right? Like, you don't go home and tell your wife and your kids, like, hey, I picked up 3 bodies today off the highway, honey. It's like, you just don't do that, right? Even though that's the reality of your job. And so I think there, from my point of view, and again, I'd love to have you guys elaborate on this, is like the idea that, what you deal with at work every day, it's not fun, right? but it's a needed job. It's something that a special person needs to do. Military service can be the same thing, right? And I think Aaron has experienced that.
Right.
And, I don't know, Josh, and all your detail, your background, but, with everything that I know of all these things too, it's like, it's not a normal job, right? And so now when people come out of the military, maybe like Aaron, are disabled and, can't go back to work and has to kind of integrate himself back into civilization, how is it that a foundation like this, please confirm if what I've said is correct or not first, right? Please. Like, Tom, are you aligned with what I'm saying so
Yeah.
far? Okay.
Yeah, it can be mentally draining.
Yeah.
So you can easily go through PTSD
Yeah.
and have effects of it.
Yeah.
My wife is also a first responder, so I have it's easy for us to talk about together.
Yeah, yeah.
So in the same household.
Yeah.
Some firefighters and veterans don't have that person right next to them, right close. So
it understands what they're going through, right?
And it can understand the mental drain and what it does to you, just what it can even do to you physically.
Oh yeah.
So that's what, one thing with putting this together is what we're hoping to just be available and be an outlet for men and women.
Yeah. And Aaron, go ahead.
If
Yeah.
I can interject.
Yeah, please.
So the flip side of that, obviously, the whole brotherhood, camaraderie, team building, all of that stuff is obviously the hub of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yep.
But we're a recreational therapy program providing resources for veterans and first responders for post-traumatic growth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what that encompasses is they're utilizing we're utilizing all that real world.
Josh, we can hear you typing. If you can kind of hold that down or go on mute, so that'd be great.
Oh, sorry about that.
But we're able to use that real world experience. First responders, they know how to use radios. They know how to work in their element. They know how to work in the heat of battle. Veterans, same thing. When it comes into the firefight, the light switch clicks on and you're in the moment and you're working and you're doing your job and that muscle memory kicks in. That's that part of that avalanche education where we can help. If we can get, just for an example, this year, if we could get 12 veterans and first responders trained just this year, that's 12 more people out there that have way more education than the average Joe that just got avalanche education.
Yep.
And I'm using a military average Joe, but
Yep.
but the thing is to piggyback off of all of that training that they've had, and that's where Tom kind of said where we wanted to get into some of the first aid and why we're partnering with some of the other organizations like Tyler's Backcountry, where we're going to do the wilderness training, and we can do just all that other stuff. SAR, search and rescue,
Exactly.
first responders. What do they do? That's their whole job. Put out the fire, find the people, right? Get everybody to safety, right?
Yep.
Same concept. So why not piggyback off of all that experience? And in essence, it's free training. We've already got the guys and girls that already know that. EMSs, EMRs, CPR, all that stuff is in our pocket.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that I'm utilizing that as a well, I am. I'm actually using those resources to benefit the community.
Yep.
And that's what the foundation really means, is bringing this group of people together, bringing them all into one pot and letting them branch out and teach laterally rather than everybody teaching down. And that's, and I'm not saying that that's bad on any account, but I just see so many people doing so many different things. Well, why can't we all do it together?
Yeah.
Kind of like with Carrie and Driven and what you guys just went through for the week. It's the same concept. I mean, I just think it will benefit the sport all the way around, and it will And it will not just stop at snowmobiling.
Yeah.
Well
You know, a lot of the training that we can do in the summer can help them for winter.
Yeah.
You know, first aid, CPR, you know,
Exactly.
backcountry survival, you know, all that stuff. So
Very good.
let's do it. Why not?
Why not?
Sorry.
That's
I took
okay.
my 5 minutes.
Soapbox decommission, right? It's awesome.
Well said.
Awesome. So, Josh, anything you want to add to that, and kind of think about, you know, the veterans, the first responders, and the need and the desire of being able to kind of let them go through these experiences, whether it be avalanche training, potentially like, you know, just rides, where that brotherhood, that camaraderie, and kind of helping people see something more than what they're looking at every day, and kind of giving them some goals for the future, right? So, what do you would like to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, for me, it's snowmobiling was kind of like a reconnection back to that mindset of being in the military. And you know, you're out there, you're working your butt off, and you're getting stuck. And I think that for a lot of guys that were in the military, I think they forget that they kind of get lost when they get out. I know I felt that for years and years and years, and never could find anything to like kind of get myself recentered in life to keep pushing forward, you know, in my personal life, in my career, and in, you know, the stuff that I do extracurricularly. And snowmobiling, when I got introduced to that, it kind of brought all of that back. It kind of brought it all back around, you know, getting out there in the hills and getting stuck. And that's why I realized, I said, you know, I want to bring this to other veterans. You know, for me, I lost quite a few friends while I was in to suicide. And you know, I'm definitely one of those guys that wants to see that kind of. I know it'll probably never go away. That's just the sad reality. But if we could see that minimized, I think that snowmobiling and some of the other things that we got planned, I think is going to help mitigate that. And when they feel that, and they feel that camaraderie, when we take a bunch of veterans and we're out there in the backwoods and we're training them, and it feels like a day back in the military. Or you know, I can't speak to the first responder side because I don't have that experience, but I know that it's a very thankless job. And that kind of bothers me, even though I was never in that. But I have a lot of friends who are police officers, firefighters, EMTs. They work as nurses in emergency departments. And I know that they just don't get a lot of the gratitude that they rightfully deserve. And I feel that that's where we're at here. You know, get them out, get them around the same people that think like they do, talk like they do, can understand some of that dark sense of humor that just regular people just don't get. And and you know, just be with each other and have a good time. And then on top of that, being able to sit down and train them and get them educated on what we're doing and why it's important. Because, you know, back there in the backcountry, it's especially in the wintertime, it's not always safe. And even when you think it is. And so we just want to see people to be able to go out there and come home at the end of the day.
Yep. No, that's amazing. Awesome. So, Josh, I'm going to keep going with you too. I want you to talk a little bit about your role as kind of the blogger, social media director, but mostly around these blogs and stuff that you've been doing. Would love to have you just kind of showcase and share, you know, what you're doing, kind of your goals with it, and kind of your vision for where you'd like to go with it. And if you have anything that you're looking for, if there's anybody who might be watching or listening that maybe you want to interact with and help share their story through your blogs and stuff, that might be an opportunity. So, I want to turn it over to you a minute again.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So with the blog, it just kind of like was one of those things where I was like, hey, we should do this, and I'll do it. And I just started doing it. And I kind of just started with those foundational pillars within our mission statement and stuff like that, kind of built off of that. And to
You must be sharing the internet with somebody in the
at
neighborhood.
some point.
So you cut out there for about a minute, Josh,
Yeah,
if you want to kind of repeat there a little bit. So
I apologize. It might just be my internet in my house. It's not always the greatest, unfortunately.
Well, let's be honest. You're in Montana. It's not the cutting edge technology state, right?
How good
it's
could it
not.
be?
I definitely learned that after I moved here.
I mean, I was in Sealy
That's why I
Lake.
moved
I was in Sealy Lake last week, and I'm like, I'd lucky if I even saw civilization outside of Sealy Lake. It seemed like so.
Right. So yeah, we just want to. I just kind of want to build my experiences into a way that I can share those with others, so that they know that they're not alone in those experiences.
That's awesome.
Another big thing is having people understand that all of our experiences were different when we were in the military, or when they were out patrolling the streets, or when they were, you know, on a fire call, or whatever that may be, and that one person's experiences may or may not be worse or better than another person's experiences, and just come together and realize that we just all went through stuff when we were doing what we were doing, and kind of break down that wall. Because I think one of the biggest enemies that we have within the veteran community is other veterans. And I don't know if that's the same for the first responder, and I know that's kind of a controversial thing to say, but I've noticed the more of the flack that I get is usually from my brothers and sisters in the military. And I want to see that just kind of change. And I hope that the blog can kind of help change that mindset.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to have some other writers here really soon. There's some people that I am working with, and hopefully have some good content coming your guys' way.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna do my role here, and I'm gonna kind of play good cop, bad cop, and jump on a soapbox here for a minute too. And I think what you're experiencing isn't unique to just the veteran thing. I think there's a lot of it, right? I think of even what I'm doing within the snowmobile community, right? And jumping on a show and talking about safety and education, and in many cases we're doing shows like this where we're now diving into human interest. Like if you go back and watch a number of these 162 episodes, we've talked about things like depression and suicide, and dealing with men being men, and having like, how do you deal with relationships. It's some crazy stuff that we've gotten into all through the name and sake of snowmobiling. And what you find, I think, is that there's a certain part of society, and I think it very much should focus in here. And again, this is me speaking. I'm not speaking for anybody else on here. Is that, we get into this tough guy world of not allowing ourselves to just be truly who we are on the inside sometimes. And, like just allowing ourselves to be a little bit vulnerable, allow ourselves to share some emotions and feelings, and to literally allow us to support each other, right? And I think of like this environment of the military, right? It's the toughest guys of the toughest guys and the gals of the world, right? It's the toughest people in the world, and everybody's in there, quote unquote, trying to be a hero. Literally, that's what we're all taught and trained to do. Is like, you are, serving your country. You're the toughest of the tough of the American people, men and women both. And now here you guys are, kind of exposing maybe some of the weakness that comes beyond that and past that personal experience that happens of being in the military. And I think of even like outside of the military world, you get these people who maybe had a highly successful career in the business world, right? And it's a very similar parallel, right? But like maybe they were on top of the world, they were a CEO, they were something, and something happened that didn't allow them to continue doing what they're doing, and now they're displaced from that environment. And now they're a lost soul to some degree, right? And again, please correct me if I'm stating anything that's wrong here. But I'm just sharing kind of some parallels to my personal life and the world experience that's there, along with what I see to be some of the parallels going through what you guys go to. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? And I think we share that.
Right.
And it, go ahead, Aaron. I got a little bit to keep going, but it's like you get to this point where as a lost soul, right? Like you get to the point where like, oh man, I was on top of the world. I was doing this, I was doing that. And I heard Aaron's story. Aaron shared his story, right? Like he was a military combat veteran. Like he was out there, right? And he was injured. And before he knew it, he's at home. He's not allowed to work. He can't do anything else. He's still a father. He's still a husband. And Aaron's personal vision of his value went from up here to down here. And it became this weird, strange, new universe that you have to learn how to exist in. And I think the people who haven't maybe fallen as far, maybe think they're okay, but won't come to grips with it, they're the ones who are probably pointing at you going like, oh, you're just a bunch of hocus pocus and hooey fooey and whatever it is. And the reality is I've learned through doing this podcast that everybody has a story. Everybody does. And as you're a veteran, you're a first responder, you've got your version of your life story. I've got my version of my life story, and for you guys who maybe don't know me as well, as like I lost a sister to suicide when I was 10 years old. She was 15. That experience changed my life. So I've got personal experience of dealing with those kind of things and just seeing where this is going. And that's why I get so passionate about bringing stories like this one to the community, because I think we all can just call ourselves snowmobilers, men, women, military, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it's this like back end, like we're all human, we're all flawed, we're all here to support each other, and if we can all rise together. Boom, there's my soapbox. Boom, Aaron, it's all you, buddy.
All right, man, I got this. It's the Aaron McCarthy Show. So Aaron McCarthy Live, welcome to Aaron McCarthy Live at 7:30 here on Tuesday night.
Living large, living large.
No, you're living Aaron's life. The wacky world of Aaron. No,
So tell me
actually,
I'm
the
crazy.
conversation-
Is anything I just said crazy, or am I spot on?
No,
You're
no, not at all.
spot on. So it's funny you were saying that, and John, you and I have talked about suicide,
Oh, yeah.
and I remember the day that I was sitting in my garage with a gun in my mouth, and that was 38 months ago.
Wow.
So it was in November of 2017, and it was shortly after my heart surgery. And I'll tell you, when you go, you're constantly doing this, right? You're in the military and you keep rising. And I've always talked about, since the inception of this organization, reaching your individual peak, right? What does that mean to you?
Yep.
And for me, reaching my individual peak, I haven't gotten there yet. But every day I go out there, I wake up, I plant my feet on the ground, and I got a purpose. This organization has literally become a full-time job. This is my purpose in life, to make sure that I help as many people as I can. Now, whether I'm able to sponsor a person that is not a first responder, you know what? I have plenty of resources out there like you, John, that are able to get them sponsors, get them scholarships through ARI. I've got other avenues. So it's not just we're supporting one group of one demographic, right? So, I really look at that where I have reached these peaks and valleys throughout my life, and like you said, here I am up here, and now I'm down here, and I still got to try to figure out where I live within my household, but now, after winning the snowmobile and meeting all the people that I've met, it clicked. Why am I doing this? What am I on this earth for? I'm on this earth to help people, and I'm on this earth to pay it forward. This is what we're doing. And I get passionate, John, I get passionate.
I know.
I get passionate stuff.
But you just stated out loud the question I asked you sitting at breakfast many, many months ago, right? Like, Aaron, why are you doing this? Aaron, why are you doing this? Aaron, why are you doing this? And do you finally have it figured out what the answer is? Do you finally figure out what the answer was?
Living large, baby.
Why are you doing this, Aaron? Answer it publicly. I want to hear it right now. Why are you doing this? I'm gonna put Aaron on the spot.
Tell everybody why I'm doing this, John. Why do you think I'm doing this?
Josh, why are you doing this? I'm going to ask all of you guys. There's an important question, then I'll get on my soapbox again. Josh, why do you do this? Why do you do this?
I've wanted to just help my fellow veterans and fellow even active duty. I just have wanted to help people in some capacity to feel that sense of achievement and being a part of something bigger than myself. And that's why I'm doing this, and to be a part of this great group of guys that I'm working with now.
Okay, that's a solid answer, but I'm going to circle back to you. How about Tom? How about Tom? How about you? Why do you do this?
I've been volunteering for almost 50 years, so it's like just secondhand. I don't know any different, and I think snowmobiling got a bad name for a few years. It's just a bunch of motorheads, out breaking stuff, and I think we can really, through education, show people that it's a good bunch of people.
Yep.
And change the whole mindset behind it. It's not just a bunch of motorheads that want to wreck stuff. And
it's awesome.
So that's what it is to me,
Okay.
Amongst a lot of other things too, it's just the brotherhood. And
Aaron's smiling because he knows where I'm going to this. So another solid answer, Tom, but I will circle back. Aaron, let's see what your answer is. Why do you do this?
I was born to pay it forward. I was born to do this. I'm doing this for you. I'm not, I go around and around. Seriously, John, that question has went through my head 500 times.
And we've talked
all the things that
we've talked about it, right?
About it many times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, Aaron asked me the same question. Why do you spend 3 hours of your Monday night getting ready for a podcast that you make no money off of? Like, ask me the same question.
John, why are you doing this?
Why do I do this, Aaron? You know why I do this? Is the same answer as you, but I'm going to take it to another level, right? Is I
It's
also
always one up in me.
I also find pure joy and happiness from helping others, right? But that pure personal joy and happiness is what it's about, right? It's like, and it's something for all of you guys to consider. And this is what I told Aaron in a private conversation: is that all of what you guys are doing is absolutely noble, but if you're doing it for others, if you're doing it for, to help somebody, it's great, but it's not sustainable. Like, you will all burn yourselves out doing it over and over and over again if you're not finding personal happiness while you're doing it, right? And so sometimes we don't know that that's why we're doing it, but that is the real reason. It's for personal happiness. Like, it makes me happy. Like, Aaron, do I find joy in, a brand new snowmobile? Like, those things, yeah, those are nice. But like, that's not what I'm chasing in life. Like, I'm not doing this episode or this show to get this, that, or the other thing, or to become famous or whatever people want to think that maybe this is about. It's totally not. What I know is that guys like Aaron, who've come on my show with Dan Adams, that episode, that night on episode 100 and what is it, 32 or 31? 130?
130.
130.
Yep.
Episode 130 changed Aaron McCarthy's life.
It did.
And
Absolutely.
that episode, changing Aaron McCarthy's life, gave me a friend, gave me personal happiness, gives me happiness to bring you guys back on here, and we're going to continue to pay this forward, right? But if I didn't thoroughly enjoy doing this is literally the best part of my day. First day back from vacation, you can imagine how coming back from vacation is on a first day of work, right? It wasn't a great day at work, right? It was not because it was bad. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming.
No.
And I was actually in my mind kind of dreading, like, how am I going to juggle this around and make this all happen tonight? But the most energetic I've been all day long is right now in this moment. And it's because I'm finding pure happiness in helping you guys get your story out in there too. So I want you all to remember that. All three of you guys that are on the show here, there's personal happiness to be had is by helping others if you're doing it for the right reasons. So.
Right.
And I want to thank you, John. I mean, because, and it's seriously, those that know me know that it doesn't matter. I'm a pretty genuine guy. So John called me earlier today and said, "How are you doing?" And I'm not going to say what I said, but he goes, "You are probably the most honest person I talked to." I was like, "Well, it is what it is, but we're moving on, right?"
Yep.
So you can only control what you can control.
Control what you can control and keep moving.
But I want to thank you for all the advice and all the help and all the friendship that you've given me, and it's seriously just pushing me to stay focused on this. And, we're not trying to do something somebody else is doing. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, but we're also not trying to copy what somebody else is doing. We want to have our own thing, but at the same time align with what everybody else is doing, and that's where I think I've been on some of those first rides with the Warrior rides with Paul Thacker. I love Paul to death. I'll see him here at the end of the month in March, and we'll be doing a Warrior ride, but that's the beginner portion of the way I see the riders coming into the sport, where Paul's bringing those guys in that haven't ridden before. I mean, for God's sakes, he got 3 guys from Tennessee that had never been on a sled this week. They were up at Arrowhead.
Nice.
So, but now 2-3 years down the road, what do you expect those guys to be doing if they're still riding? You want them to have some education, because I don't want to be on the mountain with that guy if he doesn't have the proper gear.
Yep.
And that's kind of where when Josh and I bounce ideas off about his blog, I said, "Hey, why don't you hit, like last night, I said, why don't you talk about gear, and that next week he's going to talk about some of the first responder stuff, right, with Tom, and we're going to keep working that angle because everybody needs to hear it, I think what we have going, obviously we're young and up and coming, and everybody wants to see us succeed, and there's going to be bumps in the road, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
But we're still looking for our own individual peaks, right? So we're still reaching for that, and we aren't there yet.
We're not even close.
I still haven't done a reentry, so
yeah. Well, I think I saw you do one, Aaron, but I don't think it was intentional.
It was not very good. Not very at all.
That was
Awesome,
a
awesome.
re-entry in a tree well.
There you go.
Oh, 30 times.
Well, before we let time completely get away from us, I want to, touch on a few key items here. But I also want you guys all collectively to think of, like, if there's anything that we haven't talked about yet that you really want to make sure you get out, be prepared to bring it up here in a few minutes. So, Aaron, what I want to talk about next is the event that you have coming up in March with Brian Lundstedt and Tyler's Backcountry Awareness. So go ahead and share with us what you got going on there.
Right, so we're doing our inaugural Abbey 1 class with level 1 with Brian Lundstedt and Tyler's Backcountry Awareness.
It's okay.
Adventure.
Awareness.
Well, I was out with them last week. It is quite an adventure, I'll just tell you. So it's not officially called Awareness. So
I know. So we're doing our first class, and we've got a good mix of veterans and first responders. Going to do this class at Arrowhead Lodge on the 7th through the 9th of March. It's all paid for them. We hand-picked them because we want to make sure that we picked the people that needed it the most, for our first one. And it's not about getting their picture out there or anything like that. It's about what I see, where their progression is going in the sport and how active they are in the mountains and not having the education. And I just think that showcasing those first 6 would be it's very important. We've got some other ones that are kind of outliers. Josh is going with Brian Brumwell, his co-chair out there at West Yellowstone, and James Kaufman, who's another co-chair. And they are going to go do another Abbey class. They can't do it at the same time, but we'll take care of the guys that we can take care of when they need it. But the whole idea of the program is we provide scholarships for veterans and first responders for avalanche awareness, for these Abbey 1s, Abbey 2, Pro 1s, Pro 2s, SAR, any class pretty much this year that you can get into, will help you get into or sponsor you. There's just a few things that we require you to have. Obviously, you've got to tell us. I mean, not just tell us, but you got to prove to us that you're a veteran and/or first responder. And another thing is we don't want just the one-offs. We want people that are going to utilize these scholarships and further their education, because it's not just a one-stop shop. I mean, we're investing a lot of money. We have nothing but private donors. We haven't reached out much to the public because our donors are pretty well suited to take care of us for this year, and we appreciate that. So we want to thank Eric Budge Custom Homes and the team that he's got put together to help us get past this first year. And then we've got some grants that we're working on right now. Some outstanding grants that we're just waiting for finalization. Got our tax exempt status in the funnel. That's good. Just all kinds of stuff, John. We've got sponsors coming out of our ears, and if I could say a little bit about our sponsors.
Yeah, just one second here. I just want to, if I don't know if Josh can hear us or not, but he's having some audio trouble. I got a message from him, and if Josh, if you shut off your headphones, you can go just to your computer speakers if you need to, and we can put you on mute when you're not talking. So I don't know if you heard that or not. If not, Aaron, you go ahead and start talking about your sponsors, and if not, I'll message back to Josh here.
Sure. So we got Straight Line out of Ramsey, Minnesota. Straight Line Performance has been with me since I started riding in the backcountry 3 years ago. And they support what we're doing, and they're helping us out. And I am honored to have them as part of our team. TKI, we got TKI this last month. Tom and Jen, they're awesome. And Ortovox gonna be helping us out this year with something we got going on at the end of the at the end of March. And we've got some other ones that we kind of got in the mix that we're waiting on finalization on, but those are the big ones right now that we're working on. We do have a big announcement coming. Hopefully the video will be coming out at the end of the month. And we should be doing our 2021 Honor Your Hero sled giveaway.
Wow. So
everybody stay tuned.
So Aaron last year was the lucky winner of a sled with Dan Adams in the giveaway last year, and he's been out. You know, like Aaron, I'd love to tell everybody you're out there babying that thing, but unfortunately, that's not the case. There may and or may not be all original parts on it anymore. So.
So I got my new bumpers today.
Okay.
So. Tom is a machinist and / tool maker, so he's helped me put my ski back together.
A little help in the hot tub.
A little help with the hot tub, lower A-arm, you know. So it's not all original, but it's mostly there. No big plastic brakes or anything like that. But it will be at the we'll be at the Jackson Hill Climbs giving out shirts. So if anybody wants to see me, or any of the other guys from All American Heroes, look for us. We'll be tossing you a shirt. And other than that, man, we just got a lot going on.
That's awesome.
I could talk for 2 hours, John. So
yeah, no, I hear you, and I can vouch for that. I've hung out with you for sometime a full day at a time, and you know it's hard to get a word in edgewise.
I go around in circles today.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Took my vitamin B12, so I was good.
There you go. Well, we're going to just do a quick round robin and see if anybody else has anything open there. But before we do, I just want to tell everybody who's been watching, you know, really appreciate you guys at the beginning if you've been sharing the show to get this out. This is a really important, special message, I think, for me personally as well as these guys here. But, you know, I think we all know that supporting our veterans and first responders across the country is quite the initiative that's worthwhile to endure here and to kind of pursue. And would appreciate everybody, you know, if you haven't already, please share the show out. You know, again, you're in to win for a Woody's hoodie and a, you know, Idaho and potatoes. Appreciate the Woody's racing team for sponsoring the show tonight and helping us get that prize available for anybody who shares the show out and gets it out there. Follow Woody's Racing on Instagram and Facebook. And let's just come back now to Tom. Is there any final thoughts or words that you feel like anything we haven't touched on tonight that you want to make sure we squeeze in?
I think we're pretty good. Just anybody who's watching that's a veteran or first responder, just please spread the word and get our name out there. And, you know, strength by numbers is what it's at, you know, so get the word out. Appreciate it. Appreciate the time tonight, John.
Awesome. That's awesome. And before I forget, what I do want to, I'll let you guys decide who's going to answer it. I'll come back to you after we talk to Josh here. Is you know, if anybody wants to make a donation, contribution, anything like that, you know, be ready to talk about that in just a minute. We'll come back to you guys after Josh. So, Josh, any final thoughts or words before we do a final wrap up here?
Yeah, sure. You know, just kind of piggybacking off what Tom said, you know, if you're a veteran or first responder, please join our group, like our pages. We got big stuff going. Brian Brumwell and I and James Kaufman, we're working very hard to get some cool stuff going on up here in West Yellowstone. And we want to connect with you guys. We want, you know, even if for now it's just messaging back and forth on Facebook, but we're moving forward here. So yeah, please share the pages, the groups, everything, and get in touch with us. We'd like to connect with you guys.
Yeah, and I know you guys, I'll speak for you, as I know that whether you're a veteran, first responder, or an advocate for a veteran or first responder, everybody's welcome to join your pages and follow along and go along for the ride,
exactly.
right?
Yep, absolutely.
So, definitely, absolutely.
Yep, appreciate anybody who wants to be part of this and help promote what we're doing here. You know, please be part of it and join the All American Heroes Foundation page. As soon as the show's over, I'll be tagging them in the post, and we'll get that shared out. Go from there. So, Aaron, Tom, whoever wants to speak to it, is, you know, what's the best way to make a donation? And just to be clear, you guys are officially nonprofit status at this point, and so if somebody were to make a donation, that could be a tax write-off for a nonprofit organization. Is that correct, Aaron?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. So we are an official 501c3. We have filed our tax exempt status. We had to wait our 2 months, which we did, which was on the 15th. and it's 30 days from that date. So we should be ready to go come March 15th, which is what our attorney told me today. So we can still give you that that 999 or that 990 form, and for your tax write-off, and it'll still count. So if you want to help us out, go ahead and get on All American Heroes Foundation, our webpage, our Facebook page. We've got All American Heroes Foundation and All American Heroes Foundation West Yellowstone. We also have our website, which is aahfdn.com, allamericanheroesfoundation.com. And just go into the contact page, fill out that information, click on that PayPal tab, and it'll pay, and it'll go into our account, and we'll be happy to take your money and sponsor another veteran or first responder for some training. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. We've got a lot going on, John.
Good. I'm glad we were able to get on.
We got a lot to do.
Yeah, I'm glad we got on here and shared it. And so once the show's done, everybody, we'll let you go in and interact with the folks who are watching, answer any questions, comments that are there. I didn't see many questions come in at the beginning. There's a lot of shout outs, everybody saying hi, but no questions popped in at this point. So we'll go ahead and wrap up the show. And I just tell everybody is at the end of the night, don't forget to live large. And Aaron, you remember? I'm going to pop quiz. What does live large mean? Oh. Live life to the fullest. Ready?
I was actually thinking about Dave Wagner and Go Team 11.
Yeah, so Dave's just popping in here towards the end of the show here. We see him in there. He's the Iron Dog race is coming up in days here, maybe less than days. I don't even remember the exact start date, but it's coming up very, very quickly. David, we got to check in here soon too. We'll talk to you very quickly. But live life to the fullest, Aaron. Make the most of every day, including the bad days. Even the bad days when things go wrong, right, Aaron? Make the best of it and make a difference to others, which is what this show is all about, right? So God bless everybody. Have an amazing night. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks, John.